Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Jack's Mechanics. Today we have a 2010 Subaru WRX EJ255, so in the turbo model. We have also the cruise light and the traction light. Won't worry about the other ones, we've only got the key on at the moment. Just quickly brought up the fault codes in our global European onboard diagnostic part of the scan tool. We've got P0021, A camshaft position, timing over advanced or system performance bank 2. I would have thought A camshaft position would be on bank 1, but we'll have a look a bit deeper into that. So I might just go back into don't know if there'll be any useful freeze frame data for us here, but we'll have a look. Haven't spoken to the customer at all. It's done 155,000 Ks. Yeah, not too much there. So might honestly contact the customer, find out what happened when this turned on. I did was it 021? I did drive it into the workshop and it felt okay. So the fault code is stored in the engine control module when the output of the cam position sensor is not as expected. The cam position sensor is used to monitor the position of the camshaft. The ECM uses information to determine the synchronization and phasing of the camshaft in relation to the crank. A fault in the variable valve timing or the valve lift system will generate this fault code. So possibly a solenoid, mechanical issue, or maybe valve timing. This is the very first time we've seen this car, so might just check the oil level as a starter. Obviously it uses oil pressure to control the timing. You know, you might think maybe it would be a more a retarded code in that case if it was low on oil and no oil pressure, as it obviously needs oil pressure to advance the cam, but maybe it's a sticky phaser. Yeah, we'll just do some preliminary checks on the oil level. I'll call the customer, find out what's going on when it's set, and go from there. So I just spoke to the customer. He's only just owned this car for a few months now. He said it does go through a bit of oil. The oil level is good, it's full. It's got a 1050 weight in there from what he says. The timing belt looks reasonably new, but you can see the mark on there from this guide not being set properly, which is obviously not great. All the cams are lined up, but the actual crank itself, where our zero mark is, there is no notch. So that's a little bit concerning. There is a notch on it somewhere. I'd seen it as I was rotating it around, but it's not on the zero mark, and all the cams are timed up. So yeah, not too sure. I think I'm going to steer away from that at the moment, and just possibly pull out these banjo bolts. This is bank 1 on this side. Our issue is for bank 2, and it said A, so it should be this cam. Obviously there's no variable valve timing on the exhaust part of it here, so this is looking like our culprit. What the code's setting for, not the easiest job to basically get to the banjo bolt, which is this one here. Get you focused. This bolt is what we need to take out and have a look. There should be a little screen on there. Customer said that it just turned on randomly one day, no drivability complaints. So he parked it up and now it's here. That was about a week ago. So yeah, I think that's our next step. We maybe pull this air pump off and pull the filler tube off and just inspect that for contamination. He said it does have good service history, but the fact that it's going through so much oil, you know, possibly indicates otherwise. I was just thinking about it before, you know, maybe the cam is advanced and it has sludge and that in the actual solenoid and it's got stuck on full advanced, and that's why we're logging this code. So I think our best option is to pull that off and inspect it, provided obviously we know the cams are timed up, the crankshaft, you know, a bit iffy. But it should have that mark there, but I'm not sure why it doesn't at this point, so we'll pull that off. So this is what we've found, guys. Our little filter, this is the top of it. This is the strainer for the oil, in case people don't service their cars. You have these strainers to basically stop all the carbon forming, going into these solenoids and getting them jammed. It looks like that's failed, and pulled the solenoid out when I found that. Try and get you focused here. You can see a couple of the little marks there. That's all I can really see at the moment. Dripping oil on this poor guy's car, so I will clean that off. I put this under closer inspection and I might activate it or check which way this goes, because sometimes they have a little diode in there, so they only like to be operated one way. So you'll have power in and power going out, the ground on this side. If you do it the opposite way, you can damage the diode in here, and basically, yeah, then the solenoid will need to be replaced. It may well be at that point anyway with that little damage on there, but yeah, I'll check it out a bit closer and see if I can find anything or get anything out of it, and yeah, get you guys in on it. Just got this out of the solenoid, some of the screen. Phone. Alright, the phone was playing up a bit there. This is just washed in some brake clean, tapped around, didn't even activate the solenoid. These two little bits fell out, so I think based off that, and this being a metal screen, we're going to recommend replacing the solenoid. We're also going to check, put those bits down there, check the driver's side, bank one, even though we don't have a code for it. You know, we don't really want it coming back. And we can do both solenoids at the same time. This one's a little bit easier to get to once we get this bracket off. A couple of bolts, move that out of the way. Just be, yeah, so that was where the filter sits, in there, just behind the banjo bolt. Solenoid goes in the back end of it there, slots in that way. So I think that's what we'll do, guys. We'll call Subaru and see if we can get these filters, price up these solenoids. We'll check this one out in the meantime, probably off camera, just disassemble it and inspect it. If it needs one, I'll show you that we've reassembled it with two new ones, or just the bank 2 passenger side if you're in Australia. So here's where we are at with this Subaru, guys. It's all back together, obviously. We did put a solenoid in this side as well. We pulled it apart, actually no filter in here at all. Though we did see some of the gauze sitting on top of there, so God, it's anyone's guess where that's gone. somewhere buried inside the engine now, I'd say. Hopefully it makes its way out and then out of the sump eventually one day. New solenoid on that side. Spoke to a couple of dealer techs. They said they remove these filters all the time. They cause lots and lots of grief, and you're better off just removing them. So followed their advice. There's no filters in this now, and just 2 new solenoids. Cleared the light, we've taken it for a drive, and everything is Mickey Mouse. So I think we can consider this one a fix for now. And yeah, the customer is well aware that there's no filters in there, even though in our normal procedure we would put a filter in there. I guess it sort of all depends on the service history and stuff like that, how much build-up's in the engine. But yeah, I guess if you got P011, P021s on Subarus, be looking at these first. These filters seem like to be a pretty common failing part, and yeah. So anyway guys, wrapping up here at the end of the day. Take care, and we'll catch you in the next one.